Okay, good morning, everybody. I am so super thrilled and excited to start this Maamer together. It's called, in English, it's called Full Devotion, at least from this publisher. And it's part of the Chassidic Heritage series. It's called Sihye Mishakeila, Tafshin Yud Beis. It's one of the cardinal Maamarim that the Rebbe gave our generation, like our Rebbe gave our generation. It's one of the most impactful, life-changing Maamarim I've ever learned. But not only that, but it really is one of these Maamarim that you say, oh, you know, I'm part of the Rebbe's generation. Like Sihye Mishakeila is a Maamer to have learned. You know, it's like kind of like Basi Lagani and Vata Tetzaveh, all these powerful Maamarim, which hopefully we'll get through at some point in our shir together. But they're really, this is one of them. This is one of those life-changing Maamarim. The Rebbe spoke on Shabbos, and it was, by this point, the Rebbe had just been Rebbe for a little bit over a year. So not only is it a powerful Maamarim in of itself, but also the time in which it was delivered. It was the winter, a bit after the 1 year anniversary since the Rebbe became our Rebbe, and it was just that set the flavor for the entire mindset of the Rebbe. So something to note, that each of the Rebbeim has a different, they bring a lot, and the more time you spend, and hopefully everybody here will take some time over the next, however many months of your life, but spending time to really get to know each Rebbe in of himself. A good suggestion, I wish I would have brought it into the room, but a good suggestion would be the orange books from Rabbi Afton, Shalom Ber Afton, and I would take one at a time. They're the easiest, most enjoyable reads. They really go through each of the Rebbeim, and right now he's actually working on the Rebbe Rashab, which is a huge accomplishment. So we have already four sets out there. They're technically meant for children, but hey, we are kids of all ages, It's really a powerful thing. So once you realize and once you put it to context that each one of the Rebbeim had a bit of a different style, a bit of a different thing that they brought to this world, you can appreciate that in the first, years of the Rebbe's Nesias, the Rebbe kind of set a standard. He set the flavor of our generation. And this Maamer, in a certain sense, gives us the flavor of our generation. One of the many topics that it speaks about is this concept of having a purpose in our lives, having the realization that we're not just here stam. We're not just here because we're taking up space and breathing air. We're here because we have a mission, we have something to accomplish, and we are servants of the Eibusher. He sent us here with a purpose. He sent us here with something to do. I feel that one of the biggest struggles that people are going through now, and not necessarily in our group per se, or Lubavitchers or whatever, but like even as in the world as a whole, is really going through a question of why am I here? What brought me to existence, and like what am I accomplishing? I was recently, for anybody who listened, I think I sent it out on Friday, listening to a beautiful share by Yossi Jacobson that he did for teens. And one of the sections that he does within the segment is that he does question and answer, whether it's questions that he was emailed or texted, right there, or somebody actually comes on live and they post the question and he answers. And it's really so powerful because you really get a flavor for what the atmosphere is in society by getting a taste of what the teenagers are asking about. And one of the teens asked very point blank, he said, I'm really struggling with thoughts of suicide because I don't feel I have anything to accomplish in this world. What am I here for? What am I doing? Can you please give me some guidance? So I feel that this lack of structure or lack of whatever we want to call it that is currently happening right now, I think it's exasperating this concept of we don't really know why we're here. We don't really know what's our purpose. Many people just are, whether it's constantly addicted to like whatever social media or addicted to whatever TV shows or whatever. And it's hard to have this sense of like, I have something to do, when it's so easy to be hooked on something else that is going to entertain our minds and entertain and use up our time. And I'm not going against social media. This is not the purpose. My purpose is that whatever you do in your life, you have to know why the Eibishter put you here, and the fact that the Eibishter put you here. And it gives you a certain sense of a mission you need to accomplish. And that is one of the biggest parts of this Maamer. It's not the full extent of the Maamer. It is kind of like the end result. It's kind of like what happens after. But in reality, one of the biggest aspects of the Maamer is this concept of the Eibishter is giving me time, and he put me here, and so therefore I have a mission, and he's the master, and I'm the servant, and therefore I have to accomplish what the master has put me here for, right? So another big concept, which a lot of shirim that are online, I did a bit of a search before this just to double check, but some of the shirim that are online focus on the other aspect of the Maamer, or more heavily, in my opinion, on the other aspect of the Maamer. The other aspect of the Maamer is more of the beginning, which is about this concept of, if we're servants of Hashem, so therefore Hashem needs us, right? Because if, let's say, I come and I say, hey, dear friend of mine that's, watching live or watching the recording, I could really use some help. And you could really help me. Like, you could be the one to provide me with that help. Let's say I need help with, organizing my schedule. So I need you to come into my life and help me organize my schedule. So therefore, when you do that, you fulfill my desire, and therefore you complete something that's missing inside of me, so to speak, or something that's missing within me. Can we really say that of Hashem? Can we really say that Hashem needs us? I mean, Hashem is eternal. Hashem is the Holy One, blessed be He, know all, be all powerful, almighty, all da-da-da-da-da. How can you say that He needs us? And does it really make a difference the way I do anything? Does it really make a difference whether I cut my nails in the correct halachic order or whether I don't? I just, do it in whatever order I want. Does it make a difference whether I light Shabbos candles on time or whether I wait till later? Does it really make a difference to Him? He's so beyond our world. How can it be possible that we are the servant that actually does something to affect the master? Does that really make sense? And so the Maamer goes into a very beautiful discussion about how it's possible for us, to what extent, how can we understand this concept of whether we do make a difference for Hashem and whether we don't make a difference for Hashem. And if we do, then great, wonderful, but how does that make Him still all-powerful and almighty if we small, human beings, tangible, like limited human beings can make an impact on something that's infinite? How is it possible that He's still as great as He is, right? So the beginning of the Maamer kind of flows in that side, because there's a beautiful discussion. And as I spoke about it in the introduction for the last Maamer, is most things in Chassidus are based on a question and an answer. And the question and answer are important. They are very important. If you learn a Sihye, you learn that there's a question. The Rebbe usually, or each one of the Rebbeim in their own type of style, they usually come and bring up information about that question in order to give us an understanding. And at the end, we come out with an answer. So why is it that we go through this whole process? In the end, we could say, the question is, it's kind of like, FAQ, or frequently asked questions. Each one of the Maamer could be. So the question is, do we matter that this is the pasuk, and why is the confusion? And the answer is, this is the clarification of the answer. Why do we spend so much time learning ois after ois, page after page, all these words in the Maamer to really understand the answer? And the reason is because usually the stuff in the middle, the concepts that are explained, they're that part that give us the key to understand the world, give us the key to understand ourselves. They give us the key to, it's not just about the question and the answer. It's the process of getting through from question to answer that gives us the juice. It gives us the meat. It gives us the stuff that we live with. It gives us the highest to like have inspiration for the rest of our lives, or have a change. Welcome to Living Chassidus logo. They help us put on our Hashem glasses so we're able to see the world through Hashem's perspective. So too here in this Maamer, there's technically a pasuk, and the Rebbe asks a question on the pasuk. And we go and we delve deeply into this pasuk, and we go and we explain it. But the stuff in between is what changes our viewpoint. It's what gives us an appreciation for our own lives, for our time spent on this world, for our incredible potential that we're able to fulfill through being, servants of the Eibishter in this world. And it changes our viewpoint on what we're doing in this world. So I'm very, very, very excited to get started on this Maamer, as I'm sure you can tell through my voice. And to give you even more of a context of what the Maamer is all about, I'm going to read an excerpt from an incredible book, which many of you have, because Living Chassidus, I think for a while we sold it, we gave it out, whatever it is, for whatever reason, we actually, most people have it, I hope. And if you don't, I'm pretty sure we still have some copies, so please let me know, and we'll try to get a copy for you. But there's an incredible book by Rabbi Tzvi Hirsch Gansberg. It's called Portrait of a Chassid, The Life and Legacy of Rabbi Tzvi Hirsch Gansberg. And this is actually Shane Jacobson, who's one of our most amazing speakers that speaks for Living Chassidus, Shane Jacobson's father. And he was an incredible person, absolutely amazing chassid. He is most well known for a story that his wife passed away. I'm pretty sure it's either Shmini Atzeres or in the Chalmai Sukkos, sometime around that time. And he always had a very set kvias that he would go to a certain shul for ta'alucha. So ta'alucha, for anyone who doesn't know, is this concept that the Rebbe would send the members. I mean, at this point it was talking about Crown Heights, but also in general, I mean, even in Nash and other places there's a concept of going on ta'alucha, and we go out, most of the time it's men, but I have experienced and seen women do the same thing. They go out to a shul nearby, or my husband once walked, I think it was like 3 hours each way. They walk to a shul and they bring the simcha of that Yom Tov to that particular shul. So it's kind of like a mini shlichus. It's really funny how it always happens basically the night after we stay up all night learning. So it's a very interesting situation how the Rebbe set this up, and I'm still trying to understand why that is. But point is, he had a set shul that he would go into halacha for Simchas Torah, and at this point his wife had just passed away, and he's a soldier of the Rebbe, he's a soldier of Hashem, and he said, you know what, I'm taking all my kids, and why should those people miss out? And again, I'm not giving the story justice, and I'm sure Mrs. Jacobson, if I'm able to bring her to come speak about him, that would be a really powerful story. But in the end, he ended up walking to his location of Ta'alucha with all of his kids, and he held the Torah in the shul and did a kafis with the shul, and he cried and he cried and he cried, and he tried to be as besimcha as he could. And there's a story of a young boy that was there, and he was watching, and he said they weren't yet from, and he turned to his father and he said, why is this man crying? Like, what's going on with him? And the father said to him, his wife just passed away, and he still made a point to come to our shul, and he still made a point to hug the Sefer Torah, and he still made a point to dance with the Sefer Torah, even with all of his kids here. And he's a very powerful man. And many years later, that boy actually became from, and he came and he came to the family and told them the story and said how much of an impact it made on him. So he was an incredibly powerful human being, Shavan Elias and Neshama, and we should be reunited with him right now to learn even more amazing things from him. But anyway, so this is an excerpt of a diary that he wrote of this occasion, when this particular Maamer, the Maamer that we're going to learn, this particular Maamer, when it was said, this is his diary, okay? When time is suspended, Last Shabbos, Shabbos Mevarchim Adar, Shabbos Parshas Mishpatim, the Rebbe left his room at 12:35 p.m. and entered the study hall through the back door. And again, to give you context, this is before the expansion of 770. This is literally the year right after the Rebbe took Sihye. So it's just the main 770 building. Taking his place at the head of the table, which is positioned on the southwest side of the room. When his entrance was noticed, his chair was brought for him. After several moments, he began delivering the Maamer entitled Lo Sihye Mishakeila. As on previous occasions before he delivered a Maamer, the Rebbe's deep and intense feeling was noticeable and his face was white. The Maamer lasted 55 minutes. While delivering it, he cried very much. On several occasions, he could not hold himself back and cried audibly. At one point, he explained as follows. It is written, quote, I shall fill the number of your days, end quote. God grants every person a fixed number of days to complete his divine service. This applies not only to the days, even the hours and the minutes are accounted for, and a person must perform the divine service necessary, using every moment to its fullest. This point should constantly be gnawing at a person. He should feel under strain and under pressure, contemplating what he could be doing to use this moment fully. When the Rebbe said these words, we could see that he was living them. He spoke them from the depths of his heart and could not continue speaking. He leaned his head on his right hand and cried for several moments. It is impossible for a pen to capture these moments. I ask God to allow that a picture remain in my mind for my entire life. This gives us a taste of how powerful this Maamer is, not only in the concepts, but also in its delivery. The Rebbe didn't usually cry for Maamer. The Rebbe didn't usually get emotional in such a way. And this is a powerful Maamer that gives us a sense and a feeling of pride in our time. Time isn't meant to be wasted. And again, this shouldn't be something you come out of this shir and you're like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out. Because as you'll see through the Maamer, that it's a sweet and loving voice. It's not a get yourself back to work, you slave of the Eibishter, chas v'shalom. That is not the point at all. It is a point of seeing our time as one of the most precious things that we have in our lives. It's one of the things that you can never take back. We can never go back. And in reality, it is one of the most beautiful gifts that the Eibishter has given us. And so therefore, we need to make use and appreciate it for what it is and say, wow, am I really taking my time and using it wisely as I'm meant to? And again, that's not the full, this is one of the main points of the Maamer, and it's one of the most powerful points of the Maamer. And as you can see, the Rebbe cried several times during this talk, and we'll see from, there's different parts of it that you can tell, wow, it gets good. It gets us deep. And it also, at the end, as I posted in the back, I posted the summary at the back of the book, that at the end of the Maamer, we come out with this loving and sweet appreciation, not just for our time, but for the master who created us and for the master who gave us an ability to have a mission of what to do with our time. So we appreciate that the Eibishter made us. We appreciate that the Eibishter made the world in such a way that he wants us. He desires us to be part of his life, where he does have the life, but we should be a part of his experience. He wants us to do what we need to do, and that gives him such pleasure to the point that we even affect Melech Malchei Amlachim, the King of all kings, the Almighty Eibishter himself. And I hope it gives us a nice flavor to be able to get pumped and get excited and really live this Chassidus through this program that we just created for Living Chassidus, which is called oh man, give me a second and figure out what the name of the program is. Make it count, that's the word. Yes, so make it count. We're making our time count, and there's so much to it that really this Maamer embodies such a concept. So I'm excited to get started in it. Mitzvah Hashem, tomorrow we're going to go inside. We're going to, I wanted to explain for anyone who hasn't joined the previous classes, the point and purpose of living Chassidus is to separate the dikduk, like the teaching, the translation aspect, and the concepts of the Maamer. So there are classes which we go through and we read and translate the original, the original text, and then we translate to English, and then we discuss the English. But this current method that we're using for this current Maamer series, I am actually reading it directly in English, in the English translation from this Sefer, because I want the focus to be on the concepts. I want us to be living with the Maamer and not necessarily get stuck. And again, there's plenty, and Living Chassidus does have a plan for the summer, Mitzvah Hashem, where we're going to make a program to work on translation, and everybody will be able to work on their Hebrew reading and their Hebrew, translation, to be able to have the skills to do this themselves. But the purpose now is going to be primarily to be living with the concepts, and so therefore I am cutting out a certain aspect of the typical way of learning my Maamer, and I'm going to do it straight, directly in the English. We're going to read from inside. We will not be stopping at every single footnote. I will be sorry, it's early. I'll be integrating the footnotes into my translation, and certain footnotes that I do feel are specifically, needed, we will read them, and I'll point out this is a footnote, and this is so you'll be able to, even if you don't yet have the Sefer, you'll be able to follow hopefully very smoothly. Last time I heard good feedback that it was a smooth transition to be able to follow even without the Sefer. But I am going to try and help figure out how to get more copies of the Sefer for everybody. I hope, and my goal is that at every class we'll be able to come out with a practical application of what we learned, as it says in the Hayamim for Vav Teves, that every single concept, no matter how lofty it is in Chassidus, has a practical application, and it will be, you can live with it. So even certain ICAs which are more lofty and Kabbalistic in their nature, I will try my hardest to be able to, everybody comes out, and by the end of the shir, they say, wow, okay, I can live with this concept of Kesser by understanding this, or by thinking about Hashem in this way, or, changing my viewpoint on that. So I hope you guys are as excited, or even more excited, hopefully, because I am super thrilled to get started on this Maamer tomorrow. And we'll see you guys very, very soon. Have a wonderful day, everybody.